Hello, welcome to your video on interest. Your I can statement is I can solve real life problems using simple and compound interest. This will be valuable to you, especially as you get older and you have car loans and house loans and with mortgages and college loans, things like that. Very, very applicable to your life. All right, before we get started, here's some helpful information. Words that you might not know. Half year is called semi-annually. Semi-annually is what you'll hear the most. So know that that means half a year, which is 2 times. Okay? Quarterly is 4 times. Monthly would be 12 times. And daily would mean every day, so 365. You can write these as decimals too. Just know that. All right, what is the formula for simple interest? It's an easy formula. I equals P times R times T. Make sure you are writing it down and labeling what each one of those means, just like I have in this picture for you. Make sure the biggest thing is your interest rate is as a decimal and time is in years. The second part of your simple interest formula is finding the balance, because sometimes you need to know what the total is. Balance is a fancy word for total. Here's your formula. Go ahead and copy that down, just like I have it written. So we need to be able to solve these simple interest problems, and to do that, we are going to use our formula, I equals P times R times T. The first example here is a nice one. I like the color-coded picture, so that's why I've included this. It says Roxana borrows $6,000 to buy a car, 18.5% simple interest to be paid back over 5 years. So I equals P times R times T. All you do is plug in the information, and it's color-coded here for you so you can see what's happening. Remember your percent, you have to back it so that you have a decimal. And then over 5 years, so it's times 5. All you do is type that in your calculator, and you will get an answer of $5,500. Now that's your interest. What's her balance then is the second question, which is using the formula B equals P plus I. So what you're going to do is take your principal, which was that $6,000, and I'm not color coding here, plus your interest, which was the $5,550 that you found originally, and that will give you your balance. You can type that in your calculator. Sometimes you don't really need to because it's mental math, but in this case, the balance is $11,550. So that's how much she's going to owe on her car at the end of 5 years. So I'll have paid $11,550. Example number 2. Zoe has $50 in her savings account. The interest rate is 8% per year. This one's a little bit different because it's talking about 9 months, which is key here in finding our answer. So here we go. Interest is your I equals P times R times T. I'm not going to color code, but hopefully that was a good visual for you. Your principal was your starting amount. What did she start with? $50. And we're trying to find our interest. Our interest rate, though, was 8% per year. So we have to write that as a decimal. You have to back it. So it's going to be 0.08, and then times the time. And if you remember, time has to be in years for this. So I only have 9 months. So what I need to do is say, well, okay, that's 9 out of a year, which would be 12. 9 out of 12. You can simplify that down by dividing by 3, and you get 3/4. That, you know, is 0.75. Okay? Or you could have figured that out if you didn't know it. So this is the information I have. So I'm in my calculator, I'm going to type 50 times 0.08 times 0.75. And you should get an answer that I equals 3. In other words, $3 of interest for not doing anything. Balance or the total. Your balance is your principal plus your interest. So whatever I started with is my principal. In that case, it was $50. I'm going to add on that interest. So my balance is going to be a total of $53 after 9 months. All right, what's the compound interest formula? This one is kind of the crazy one. Don't let it scare you because I will give you some examples. But here you have a whole bunch of arrows and letters. Make sure you get those copied down. It is important to note, though, that the N does appear twice, and it means the same thing in both instances. You just use the same number. This is not the formula that you will see on MCAs. As far as I know, your formula will look like this, and then they assume that you know to use that N in there. So be careful on the lookout for that. The other part, you might be asked to find just the interest, and when you do that, you have to subtract that balance or your total from your principal. So make sure you get all of these formulas copied down. I know there's a lot of them here, but we'll do some examples in just a sec. All right, these ones are a bit tricky, so I'm going to try and go fast. Stick with me, pause it if you need to, because we're going to cruise. Bill has $10 in a savings account that earns 12% interest compounded annually. That word right there, compounded, is what tells me this is a compound interest formula. So I need to start with my formula, which is B equals my principal, which is $10, times my 1 plus, that's always going to stay there, never changes, my interest rate as a decimal, so 0.12, over the number of times it's compounded in a year, which is just once. That's what annually means, once a year. And then we're going to take that 1, stays there, times our time, which is 2 years. Then you need to simplify the problem. This is what takes a little bit more time. So B equals 10, following order of operations, so parentheses first, 1 plus, and then 0.12 divided by 1 is just 0.12. And then B equals 10 parenthesis 1.12, 1 and 12 hundredths. And then 1 times 2, we can simplify that to just be 2. Then with your calculator, you're going to need to find the exponent, because that's the next step. So 1.12 squared will give you 1.2544, and then you have to take that and multiply it by 10, which will give you a balance, and I'm kind of running out of space here. We're talking about money, so in your calculator it says 12.544, but we need to round to dollars and cents. Then I have to go back, now that I found my balance, to answer the interest question. I have to take my balance of $12.54 and subtract what I originally had, which was the $10. That means my interest was $2.54. Number 2 is very, very similar to number 1. I did this on purpose because I wanted you to pay attention to the one small change. That change is that it says it's compounded semi-annually. Semi-annually means twice in 1 year, okay, 2 times. So when I write my problem and I'm finding the balance, my principal was 10, and then the 1 plus always stays, my 12%, but here's where the change comes in. Semi-annually means twice a year. So in that N spot, I have to put a 2 times, and then my time, which was still 2 years. Simplifying it, okay, in your calculator, 0.12 divided by 2 gives you 0.06. And then I'm just going to simplify the exponent right away, it gives me 4. Still following order of operations, 1 plus 6 hundredths is 1.06 to the 4th power. Have to do exponents next, which is the most common mistake for people to make. So 1.06 squared gives you an answer of 1.1236, and then we're going to multiply that by 10 to find our balance. When you do that, you get your balance to be 11.236, but we're talking about money, so your balance is going to be 1124, and then you have to find your interest. So you have to take that 1124 and subtract your principal, which was $10, which means $1.24 was your interest. All right, here's your turn for you. It is a simple interest problem. I know that because the word compound or compounded is not in the problem. So use your formula for that. Go ahead, turn your video back on after you've answered the question. Alrighty, here are your answers. Interest was $6,300, and then your balance was $36,300. If you have questions, let me know. Alright, joke for you. What do you call a bear without any teeth? A gummy bear. Have a wonderful day.